number 21. Which of the following processes removes carbon from the atmosphere? The emphasis on this question is placed on carbon, the process that removes carbon from the atmosphere. Okay, now these are a number of processes that occur in nature. We have putrefaction, okay, we have photosynthesis, we have volcanic eruption, we have burning of fossil fuels, okay, the burning of fossil fuels, okay, all this one releases carbon dioxide to the atmosphere, so it is not the answer. Volcanic eruption also releases carbon dioxide to the environment, so it is not the answer. Putrefaction, during the decay of plants and animals, okay, they release obnoxious gases, which CO2 is part of them, and in the process, making the carbon dioxide concentration in the atmosphere to be more. But photosynthesis is one of the processes that removes, carbon dioxide or carbon from the atmosphere. Now let's see this. Okay. If you look at this, can you see this is CO2 plus water in the presence of sunlight, okay? Photosynthesis occurs using sunlight to form glucose and oxygen. Basically, what happens there is that the CO2 here is being used alongside with water, okay, in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll for green plants to produce glucose, okay? So photosynthesis is one of the processes that does remove carbon from the atmosphere. Okay, the next question. Which of the following cycles involves the process of precipitation and transpiration? Okay, now we have water cycle, we have carbon cycle, nitrogen cycle, oxygen cycle. Now, water cycle, of course, we know consists of the processes mentioned above. Let's see what we have here. We said the correct option is A. Water cycle involves the continuous circulation of water in the Earth atmosphere system. The most important of this cycle are evaporation, transpiration, condensation, precipitation, and runoff, or what we call percolation. This is just a diagram to show how it occurs. Can you see this arrow here? This arrow here shows that water is leaving the surface. Water is leaving the surface by a process known as evaporation. Okay, so when the water evaporates, it gets to a level that it has to condense, and after condensation, it falls back as rain, a process known as precipitation. Then, from plants, you can have water leaving the surfaces of plants, a process known as transpiration. And do not forget that as rain is precipitating or falling down, it hits the soil surfaces, it hits, the plants, and some of them are absorbed by the soil. Now, the absorption of the water through the soil is known as infiltration. Then, after infiltration, the water that has been infiltrated has to pass or has to move, okay, to where you have the water bed, okay, or the groundwater. This movement of the water is what we call percolation. Okay? Now, let's move to the next question. Next question says, what is the critical limiting factor for plants below the photic zone in an ecosystem? And one will ask, what is photic zone? You have to know what is photic zone for you to be able to answer this question. The emphasis here is placed on, photic zone, the limiting factor, the factor that can prevent or that can impede with photosynthetic activity, okay, and which is the photic zone. Now, let's read through the options. Let's see which one is the correct answer among the options. Now, availability of nutrients, okay, the limiting factor, is it the availability of nutrients, availability of water, intensity of light, carbon dioxide concentration? And the correct answer in these options, okay, is C, which is intensity of light. Now, let's see the explanation to this. We said the limiting factor in the photic zone. Photic zone, of course, we know is the zone that has adequate or the maximum light, okay? And we said it is the uppermost layer of the water, okay? and it is sufficiently illuminated to permit photosynthetic activity. So if there is no light, okay, reaching this surface or this zone, photosynthetic activity may not be able to go on. Okay, so that is why the correct answer to this is light intensity. Okay, the next question. 24 of 2018, which of the following instruments is used to estimate the number of plants in a habitat? The instrument that is used to estimate the population size of plants in a habitat. Of course, we have different instruments, okay? Different ecological instruments that can be used to estimate the population size of organisms, okay, be it plants or animal. Here we have some of these instruments. Let's see which one suits this, okay, suits estimation of plant population. We have the putter, okay, we have the pitfall trap, we have the quadrants, and we have the sweep nets, okay. Now, the quadrants is actually the correct instrument used to estimate the population size of organism, of plant species. Now let's see this, and this is the diagram of the quadrants. Okay, it is drawn about 10 times, okay, shoulder level, and after that, the plant species in each of these squares, okay, is being counted. They are being counted, and from there, the total population is being worked out. Okay, but how do we carry out this sampling technique using the quadrants? Now, as you can see, we said divide the area to be sampled into a grid using measuring tape. Okay, place at right angle to each other. Now, use random number to generate coordinates within the grid on which to place the quadrants. Okay, now place a quadrant at each coordinates. Now count the number, estimate, okay, percentage cover of each species in each quadrant. Okay, use a key to identify each species. Okay, record results in a table and calculate the average species, okay, of plants in the quadrants. It can also be done by drawing. Okay, so the correct answer here is quadrants. Now let's go to the next question, question number 25. Which of the following statements is true about sandy soil? Of course, we all know that sandy soil is good for building structures and other magnificent buildings. Okay. However, it is also interesting to know that there are some plants that can best be cultivated in sandy soil. Okay, but before we look at these plants, let's see the options and the correct answer to this question. A says has limited airspace. B is light and easy to dig. C drains slowly. D is heavy and poorly erected. Okay, which statement is true? Now let's see our explanation. Okay, the correct answer here is B. We said it's light and easy to what? To dig. Okay, if you look here, you will see the plants that can be grown on sandy soil, and this is a sample of our sandy soil. Okay, over there is the explanation. Okay, yes. Let's go to the next question. 26. Which of the following organisms is a primary consumer? Okay, the emphasis on this question is this: primary consumer. Which organism is referred to as a primary consumer? And what is primary consumer? Okay, now the options here, we have dog, we have sheep, we have grass, and we have fungus. A primary consumer is an organism that feeds on grasses. Okay, in other words, it's an organism that feeds on producer. Okay, an organism, for example, here we have sheep. Okay, feeds on producer. We have grasses, producer. This one feeds on this. We have fungus. Fungus is not a producer. So the correct answer to this, okay, this is not the answer, this is not the answer. this is not the answer. Sheep is the correct answer. Now let's see examples to this. Now can you see? All these are examples of primary consumer because they feed on plants, okay? So our correct option is B. Let's go to the next question. Study the diagram of food chain shown and use it to answer the question, okay? The question is this. The organism designated P in the food chain above is normally sustained by energy from the, okay, this is P, this is P, and of course we know that all food chains must begin with a producer, and these producers get their energy from the sun. So P here stands for producer, and of course we know should get its energy from the sun. So the correct answer should be what? A, which is sun. Now let's see the explanation we have for this. We say P is a producer and it needs energy from the sun to make its own food through the process of photosynthesis. Okay, next question. Study the diagram of a food chain shown and use it to answer the question. Okay, just as we have said before. Okay, which of the following statements best describe the organism designated R? Okay, which organism, what explains, okay, R here? Now we said, of course, this is a primary producer, this a primary consumer, this is a secondary consumer, and this is a tertiary consumer, okay? This is a quaternary consumer, okay? Now let's see, in this food chain, the place value of R, okay? R fits on Q, Q fits on this. This is a producer, primary consumer, and this is a secondary consumer. And this secondary consumer are flesh eaters. They are usually carnivores, okay? Now let's see what we have in our explanation. Now can you see the correct option here is D, as we have said, okay? Secondary consumer are largely carnivores that feed on the primary consumers or herbivores. They are heterotrophs, specifically carnivores and omnivores. Carnivores eat on other animals or feeds on other animals. And as you can see, this food chain, can you see, this is the position of the carnivores. These are the producers, primary consumer, secondary consumer, and tertiary consumer. Okay, the next question. Which of the following diseases is not hereditary? Which of these diseases is not hereditary? Okay, now look at this. Some of these diseases, okay, sex-linked diseases, okay, and some are just caused by some vectors. And this one, for example, the scabies, it's not a disease, it's not a hereditary linked disease. Let's see diagram to show this. Can you see this is a mite that is feeding on the skin of a person over there, and after that it leaves you with irritation, makes the skin to be red, and makes the place to be itchy, which makes the person to scratch and making the skin to be rough. So our answer here is scabies. Okay, scabies. The scabies, as you have seen, they are not what hereditary diseases. They are not hereditary diseases. They are diseases caused by, mites and other insects that bites your body. Okay, let's go to the next question. The immediate product of meiosis in flowering plant is the what? What is the immediate product of meiosis? We have sporophytes, we have gametophytes, we have zygotes, and we have pollen grains. Okay, let's see explanation to this. As you can see, the pollen grain of the pollen grains actually the product of meiosis in flowering plants. Okay, they produce gametes, or in them you have two gametes which are used to fertilize the egg cell in a flower during or after pollination. Okay, You can see this is a sample of the pollen grain, and once it is deposited on the anther, on the stigma, okay, it moves down, okay, via the style to the ovary, where it fertilizes the flower to form the fruit, okay?
Question number 31 says, DNA in eukaryotic cells is contained in the emphasis on this question is placed on DNA, the location of the DNA. And if you look here, you will see that the DNA here is actually located in the nucleus of the cell, and it carries out or is actually responsible for the transmission of traits, characters from parents to their offspring. Now let's see the answer to the option, okay? Now as you can see, this is the position of, this is the nucleus, okay, the nucleolus, and the DNA is actually located in the nucleolus. And over there we said the nucleus controls and regulates the activities of the cell, e.g. growth and metabolism, and it carries out the genes, structures that contain the hereditary information. Nucleoli are small bodies, often seen within the nucleus, the gel-like matrix in which the nuclear components are suspended is the nucleoplasm, okay? Yes, so the answer to this is nucleus. Next question. Question number 32 says, a man who is heterozygous for the disease hemophilia marries a woman who is double recessive for the hemophilia. What percentage of their offspring will have the disease? Now, the emphasis on this question is placed on man being heterozygous for a disease, which is hemophilia, and marrying a woman who is double recessive for hemophilia and hemophilia. What will be the percentage of the offspring? Okay. Now, looking at this, it is interesting to note that there are some sex-linked characters which are found attached to the sex chromosomes, either the X chromosomes or the Y chromosomes. Those characters, the characters located at the X and Y chromosomes are said to be sex-linked. Okay. And those characters that are found only on the X chromosomes are said to be X-linked. The ones found on the Y chromosomes are said to be Y-linked. Okay, hemophilia is one of those characters that is found or located on the X chromosomes, and it is passed from either the father or the mother to the... From the mother, it can be passed to the son, and from the father, it can be passed to the daughter. That is, if it is X-linked. But for those ones that are Y-linked, they are usually passed from the father to the son. Now, let's see what the question is saying. Let's see our explanation for this. We said, for a normal male, you have the chromosomes represented as what, as SY, or this very one. And they also have for hemophiliac male, you have it as this, okay? Then, for a normal female, you have it as this or this, okay? You can also use this allele or this very one. That is for a normal female or a carrier female who is also heterozygous. Then, hemophiliac female is represented as this. She must be double recessive for a female to be infected by the disease. Okay, now let's see how we can solve this. We said only females can be carriers, a heterozygote for a recessive disease condition. Males cannot be heterozygous carriers. Male will always inherit an X-linked trait, okay, from their mother. They inherit a Y chromosome from their father. A typical example of this is the genetic disorder, hemophilia, caused by a defect in a gene located in the X chromosome. If you look over here, you also see demonstration or the illustration of this. Now, okay, now let's see how we can solve this. Let's see how we can solve this, okay, practically, okay. We have this. We have for the male, okay, we are going to use this. For the male, we are going to use this. Okay, let's say the male is normal. Okay, marrying a woman who is double recessive. So this is going to be the allele for the woman. You have this, okay. Now, after meiosis, you're going to have separation of this. So you have this like this. Of course, meiosis is going to separate the two alleles. You have these two, cycle it. You have this, you cycle it, okay. Now let's see the crossing. This and this, you're going to have, okay, this and this, okay. This and this, you have it in this ratio, okay. Then we're done with this. Let's go to the next one. This and this, you have the X and the Y. This is a male. This and this, you have X, okay, and Y. Okay, if you look here, you will see that this is a carrier who is heterozygous for the female. This is also what carrier heterozygous for the female. This person is a sickler, okay, is already hemophiliac. Okay, this one too is also hemophiliac. So this 50%, okay, for the female who are carriers, and 50% who are also infected. So based on the question now, you will agree with me that our answer here is C, okay, which is 50%. Just 50% will have the disease. 50% will be just carrier for the female. And do not forget, I said male cannot be carriers. It's either the male is infected or is normal. But for a female, she can be normal, okay? She can be a carrier and she will have the heterozygous allele, and she can also be infected and having the double recessive alleles, okay? Making her to be hemophiliac, okay? Next question. What is the function of the contractile vacuole in Paramecium? Okay, the emphasis on this question is actually placed on the function of, okay, the function of the contractile vacuole, okay, in Paramecium. What does it do? As the name implies, contractile, okay, an organelle in the cell. What it does is that it contracts and expels water out of the cell through the cell membrane when it has absorbed too much water, depending on the medium or depending on the location where the organism is. Now, what is the answer to this question? We have, with option number A says produces enzyme, B says gets rid of excreta, C says stores and digests food, D says gets rid of excess water. The correct answer to this is this. Okay, the correct answer is D. Let's see the explanation we have here. Okay, we said osmoregulation. Paramecium and amoeba live in fresh water. Their cytoplasm contains greater concentration of solutes than their surroundings, and so they absorb water by osmosis. The excess water is collected into a contractile vacuole, which swells and finally expels water through an opening in the cell membrane. Excretion in Paramecium is carried out by contractile vacuole. And here you can see this diagram of Paramecium. Okay, you can see it has two contractile vacuoles. We have the anterior contractile vacuole and the posterior contractile vacuole. Both of the contractile vacuoles are just responsible for getting rid of excess water in the cell. Okay, next question. Question number 34. An animal which is active during the day is known as. An animal which is active during the day is known as. Now, the emphasis on this question is actually placed on active animal, okay, during the day. What is the name given to an animal, okay, animal which is active during the day? Now, let's go to the options. Here we have nocturnal animal, we have diurnal animal, we have terrestrial animal, we have homothermic animal. This animal is an animal that is active at night. This one is active during the day. Terrestrial animals or animal is an animal that lives on land. Hemothermic animal is an animal that is able to regulate its body temperature irrespective of the prevailing temperature of the day. So our correct answer here is B, which is diurnal animal. Let's see the explanation we have for this. We said diurnal animals are animals that are active during the day and then sleep at night. Example of diurnal animals include humans, deer, and dogs. Now, it could be as a result of the cells they have in their eyes. For example, we have the cones and the rods. Animals that have well-developed cones are usually active during the day, while animals that have well-developed rods are active at night. Okay? So, next question. Question number 35. A pollutant that is mostly associated with acid rain is, which of these pollutants is associated with acid rain? Now, do not forget that the emphasis on this question is placed on, okay, pollutants, okay, that causes, acid rain, okay? Now, let's see the options we have. We have nitrogen 4 oxide, we have ozone, we have fluorine, and we have carbon 4 oxide. Okay, the explanation to this, let's quickly run through the explanation to this. We said our answer here is A. An acid rain is caused by a chemical reaction that begins when compounds like sulfur dioxide, can you see sulfur dioxide, and nitrogen oxide are released into the air. Acid rain results when sulfur dioxide, which is this, and nitrogen 4 oxide, okay, are emitted into the atmosphere and transported by wind and air currents. The sulfur 4 oxide and nitrogen 4 oxide, okay, or the nitrogen compound there, react with water and oxygen and other chemicals to form sulfuric acid. That is when it is sulfur that is found in the atmosphere, and nitric acid when it is nitrogen compound found in the atmosphere. Then this mixes with water and other materials before falling to the ground as rain. Okay, so our correct answer to this is A. Next question. Use the diagram to answer the question. The diagram shows that the organisms are, now if you look at this diagram, you see that these organisms that are carrying out, they are mating, okay, and this is a frog, okay, and if you look at this, you will see that the female is actually shedding her eggs, she's laying eggs, while the male is trying to fertilize the eggs as they are coming out. Okay, now let's see the options, okay. Option A says hermaphrodites, B says viviparous, okay, C says oviparous, okay, D says ovoviviparous, okay. Which of them now is correct? The correct answer to this is oviparous. They are not hermaphrodites, they are not viviparous, and they are not ovoviviparous, okay. They lay eggs, and animals that lay eggs are said to be oviparous. Now, are said to be oviparous. Let's see the explanation to this. Now, we said oviparous, an animal producing young by means of eggs, which are hatched after they have been laid by the parent, as in birds, okay? So, all animals that are able to lay eggs are said to be oviparous. Next question. Question number 37. Use the diagram, still the same diagram. We're going to use it to answer this question. Okay. Now, we said the breathing posture illustrated in the diagram is known as, what is the breathing posture, okay, in this organism? Now, the emphasis on this question, do not forget, is placed on the posture, okay? Now, the breathing posture of this organism here is known as what? Is it mating? Is it amplicious? Is it courtship display? Is it reproductive and swimming? Okay? Now, the correct answer to this is amplicious, okay? The breathing posture is amplicious. Now, let's see the explanation we have for this. Let's see the explanation for this, okay? We said amplicious is a type of mating behavior exhibited by some externally fertilizing species in which a male grabs a female with his front legs as part of the mating process, and at the same time or with some time
delay, he fertilizes the egg as they are released from the body of the female. Amplios involves direct contact between the male and the female, distinguished from other forms of external fertilization, such as what? As spawning. Now, in some options, you will see spawning is usually being shown, but spawning is not actually the correct answer, because in Amplios, there is actually a physical contact between the two organisms, while in spawning, the two organisms are far apart. The female can lay her eggs, while the male will also what? Release the sperm cells, which swim. The sperm cells will now swim to go and fertilize the egg cells. There is no actual contact between the male and the female in spawning, but in Amplios, there is a physical contact between the two of them. So the correct answer to this is Amplios. Okay, the correct answer is Amplios. Next question. Okay, question number 38. An accurate identification of a rapist can be carried out by conducting what kind of test? When somebody rapes, okay, and a child is born, how do you identify, or how do you ascertain the paternity of that child? Is it by RNA analysis? Is it by DNA analysis, blood group test, or behavioral test? Which of the tests are we going to run to ascertain that? Now, the correct answer to this is B, which is we're going to run DNA analysis. Of course, we have heard so many people who are engaged in maybe a child dispute. Okay, you discover that what they go for is DNA analysis. They don't go for RNA analysis, and this is because the DNA analysis shows the genetic information of the father, okay, in the child. Okay, now let's see what we have as our answer in the explanation. Okay, we said, thus, the major difference between DNA and RNA is that DNA is double-stranded and RNA is single-stranded. DNA is responsible for genetic information transmission. Okay, this is where the point lies. DNA is responsible for genetic information transmission, whereas RNA transmits genetic codes that are necessary for protein creation. Now, if you look here, we said the lab actually runs here. We said the lab runs a series of tests called DNA sequencing. These tests look for genetic matches between the potential father and the child. A match confirms the paternity. DNA makes up the chromosomes within the nuclei of cells. The DNA is our genetic material and contains the code for making all the proteins in the body. RNA is created specifically for protein synthesis. So the correct answer to this, as we said initially, is B, which is DNA analysis. Next question. Question number 39. A boy who is fond of swimming in a pond water finds himself passing out urine with traces of blood. He is likely to have contracted what? Now, the emphasis on this question is placed on a boy who swims in water, okay, and after swimming in water, he later discovered that he passes out, urine with traces of blood. Now, what disease has the boy contracted? Okay, now let's see the options. We have schistosomiasis, we have onchocerciasis, we have poliomyelitis, okay, we have salmonellosis. Now, which of them is the correct option here? The correct answer to this is schistosomiasis. Now, let's see the explanation to this. Let's see the explanation to this. We said schistosomiasis is a disease caused by a parasitic flatworm called schistosome. The urinary tract of the intestine may be infected. Symptoms include bloody stool or blood in the urine. The fresh water becomes contaminated from infected animal or human urine or feces. The parasite penetrates human skin to enter the bloodstream and migrates to the liver, intestine, and other organs. A rash, itchy skin, fever, chills, cough, headache, stomach pain, joint pain, and muscle aches are symptoms that ensue after the infection. Okay, so the correct answer to this is A, which is schistosomiasis. Okay, next question. Question number 40. The flippers of a whale
and the fins of fish are examples of what? Now, our answer to this is convergent evolution. Convergent evolution. Let's see the explanation we have for it. Now, these are organisms, different organisms that have developed, similar structure as a result of the need for them to explore that environment in which they are living. They are from different ancestral link. Okay, if you trace the phylogeny or the evolutionary tree of these organisms, you will see that both of them never originated from one ancestor, but they all have similar structure due to the need to explore the environment in which they live. Yes, now you can see this is a bat and this is a bird. This one has wing, okay, this one too has feathers. Both of them can actually fly, okay. Why? Because of the organs they have, which is used for the flights. Okay, this is also a dragonfly. All of them can live in one habitat due to the possession of a common organ. Okay, yes. Now, so that is it. The correct answer to this, we said, is convergent evolution. Okay, convergent evolution is our answer. If you look up here, you will also see some common examples. We have dolphins, okay, streamlined body. We have shark too, which is also what? Having streamlined body. These two organisms never originated from the same ancestor, but because of the need to explore the environment they live, they have evolved a shape that will enable them to live successfully in that environment. Now go to platypus that lays egg. This one too lays egg. Now you can see both of them have common means of reproduction. Okay, this is a mammal, okay, and this is a bird. If you look at them, you will see that they are actually different, but they have a common method of reproduction. So the evolutionary explanation to this is that they both evolve from different ancestors, but do have common features that enables them to explore the environment in which they live.